A very good evening to all my dear students. On behalf of Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, I welcome you for this third session of our chapter Audit and Auditors. I hope you have revised what we have done in the previous session, and today we are going to wind up this chapter number 10, that is Audit and Auditors. In the month of December, we have finished accounts of companies also. I hope you have been revising that also, because students, as you keep on progressing to a new chapter, there is a tendency that we forget what we have done previously. So the only thumb rule is whatever you are doing with me, you should revise it the very next day. But at the same time, keep revising the chapters that we have covered previously, because that then only the retention power can become much more strong. Many a times I was reading your messages in the previous lecture. You have written so nicely, and for thank you for the beautiful kind words that you enjoy doing the question answers along with the topics. But at the same time, when you will be sitting at your home and studying all by yourself, make it a habit to do that question answers by yourself also, because children, that is the only way which will help you to improve upon your marks. All right, with this note, let's see who all have sent beautiful evening wishes. Lahari, Maruju, Abhishek, Mishra, Kasak, Neeru, B. Sai, Kiran, Hardik, Pallavi, Balesh, all of you. A very good evening, children. God bless you all. And yes, even the excitement is mutual here to teach you about the topic. Thank you so much, Miss Mahi. Good evening, Ajay Surya, Anjali, Kritika, Tambeshwari, Mr. Ghosh. Good evening, Ragini, all of you children. So I hope you have revised what we have done in the previous session, and the students with us on the portal also. At times, yes, all of you there. So I hope you have revised, and today, as we always start the session with a quick recap and revision of what we have done in the previous session, let's have a quick recap. So we have done section 139, 140, 141. Today, I'm also going to ask you a question related to an internal auditor. You remember who is an internal auditor? We have done the provisions of audit chapter starts with the word. Yes, many of you have written, yes, we have revised. That's wonderful. So we have started with the statutory auditor, that is section 139. If you remember, we have started with the first auditor, subsequent auditor. Then we get the removal and resignation, which were covered under section 140. Manoj Kumar, you want to ask something? Yes, Mr. Manoj Kumar, you can type, you want to say something. You can type it in the chat box, Manoj Kumar. You have some query? All right. So section 139, and then after that we did the forms also. ADT 1 and 2 and 3 forms were discussed. Okay, somebody is raising their hand. Yes, Manoj Kumar, you want to speak something?
Live virtual classes intermediate. Live virtual classes intermediate.
All right. So after that, we did section 140, removal and resignation of auditor, in which we have also discussed various form numbers, ADT 1, 2, and 3 form. So let's have a quick recap. The form number ADT 2 was for resignation, appointment, or removal. Very good, very good, excellent. It was for removal. The form which we have to submit for the appointment of the auditor, can you name that? Very good, Sagar, Sukhveer, Hardik, all of you. Tambeshwari, very nice. Kasak, ADT 1, yes, ADT 1 is for appointment, ADT 2 is for removal. So what is the form number ADT 3 for? Harshpreet, good, Aisha. Yes, resignation, Pallavi, Manvi, Bhaskar, Sukhveer, Kaur, Mahi. Excellent, all of you. So you all remember these forms. So I told you the forms for deposits, registration of charges, audits, where you have lesser number of forms, try to learn it and remember it, because otherwise, like incorporation of companies has huge number of forms. Prospectus also has huge number of forms. It is always important to learn those forms also, but at least it is mandatory for all of you that where you have lesser number of forms, you must learn it. You don't have any escape route for that. So after that, we did qualification and disqualification of auditors, section 144. So if I tell you that an employee of a company who is working with me in ABC Limited, he is a chartered accountant, Mr. C, whom I have appointed as my auditor, as a statutory auditor. Can Mr. C, who is an officer and employee of ABC Limited, can he be appointed as an auditor? Yes, ma'am, or no, ma'am? No, why he can't be appointed? Because under section 141, subsection 1, we have understood that any officer or employee of the company cannot be appointed as an auditor of the same company. Lahari Maruju has written it out, but how will we know what kind of auditor is required and can it be changed? So Lahari Maruju, where it is written that the auditor has to be appointed within 30 days of incorporation, you don't have to decide the nature of the organization when you're appointing the auditor. So today we'll be discussing in detail about the cost auditor, that is only for specified manufacturing concerns under section 148, that a cost auditor is to be appointed. Otherwise, for any organization, for a statutory auditor, we have clearly discussed that any statutory auditor has to be done by a qualified chartered accountant who is holding a certificate of practice in hand. So you don't have to decide the auditor as per that kind of organization. So any organization which has been set up within 30 days of its incorporation, whether you're appointing the first auditor, board of directors will be coming into picture, and until the AGM, he'll be holding the office. And for the subsequent auditor, shareholders in the AGM will be appointing further. Hardik, difference between ACA and FCA is for the first 5 years, you are known as associate chartered accountants, and after that, you become a fellow chartered accountant. All right. All right. Okay, Lahari, your doubt is clear, and everyone has given the correct answer. Mr. C cannot be appointed as the auditor. So these kind of many questions we are going to do from section 141 today. As a quick recap, remuneration of the auditor. What will be the remuneration? Section 142 also we have discussed. Can anyone tell me what was the remuneration of the auditor? This all we have done, the removal of auditors, special notice has to be given, eligibility and disqualification was also done. So this is your 141 subsection 3. Clause B, if you can remember the clauses also. Otherwise, 141 subsection 1, 2, 3 will also be helpful if you write this disqualification of auditors. At least try to remember this subsection 3 is very, very important. Yes, the remuneration which has to be fixed, the fees payable plus the expenditure, that is absolutely correct. First auditor, board of directors will decide, and for the subsequent auditor, shareholders will decide their remuneration. So this was your point of remuneration. And anything in addition to the fees payable, any expenses incurred, any facility extended to him, but it will not include the remuneration paid to him for any other services. Like for the tax audit, he'll be charging separately. For the GST audit, he'll be charging separately. Any question come related to fees or remuneration of auditors, you should refer to this section 142, and you can write down whatever is written over here. For your disqualification of the auditor, we have done certain points where you're holding a security or interest where the relative is holding. So if your relative, Mr. B, is holding security up till value of face value of rupees 80,000, are you exempted? Aditya Kumar, we are having the sessions in the evening only this time for law. Good, great answers given by Ajay Surya, Pallavi, Kasak, Hardik. Very nice, good. Because the limit is 1 lakh. Very good, Mahi and Sukhveer. Very nice. You remember the limit of 1 lakh. And if the person is indebted to the company for what much amount? For what is the limit for the indebted to the company or its subsidiary or holding? What is the limit for that? 1 lakh or 5 lakhs? Yes, more than 5 lakhs. Excellent, Aisha. So if it exceeds 5 lakhs, then you are disqualified. Up till 5 lakhs, you are not disqualified. If the auditor has been convicted for any offense, for how long he cannot be appointed as an auditor? If he is convicted for any offense, for 10 years. Excellent. What is the maximum limit of the companies that you can have for doing the audit? Oh my God, everyone knows the answers. Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. Feel like applauding for all of you. Excellent, children. 20 is the correct answer. If my relative is a director or key managerial personnel in your company, can I be appointed as the auditor of that company? Yes or no? Disqualified under section 141, subsection 3, clause I. Good evening, Prakriti, Balesh, all those who have joined now. We're just having a quick recap of what we have discussed in the previous class. After that, children, we have started section 143. But before that, I want to do a very important and interesting question with all of you from section 141. Since we are revising section 141, so we must do one important question. So remember, these are important questions we have discussed in the previous class. Examiner can ask you such questions where you have to first define the government company, what is the percentage of holding, what is the applicability for the appointment of government company. If it is not a government company, then what is a non-government company? All the section 139 has to be learned and remember, and you should be able to write the answers like this. I think this question we have done, Mr. X. Have we done this question in the previous class? Can an employee or a relative of auditor who is going to audit? Yes, Lahari Maruju, the employee of a relative of all can also not be appointed as the auditor. Okay, so if you are a relative of an employee, it is a related party. You have to see how the relationship has been defined in the related party. Yes, we have done this question where you have already answered me that approval from central government and opportunity of being heard has to be given. So your revision question in front on the screen is this one. ABC and Company Chartered Accountants are statutory auditors of Moon Exports Limited. In an inquiry, it is proved that A, one of the partners, has acted in a fraudulent manner and tried to conclude a fraud. Wait. This is section 147, which we have not yet done. Let me just take you to the correct question. So here is the question that you have to solve. Examine the following situations in the light of Companies Act. Mr. Ayush, a chartered accountant who has been appointed as an auditor of X Limited in the annual general meeting of the company held in September 2018, and he accepted the appointment. I think till here it is fair enough. Mr. Ayush is a practicing chartered accountant. He is appointed as the auditor of X Limited. Subsequently का मतलब होता है बाद में. Subsequently means later he joined B as a partner for the consultancy firm of Mr. B. Mr. B is also working as a finance executive of X Limited. So Lahari Maruju, your question has directly come over here that you were asking in doubt. So please examine this. Just the first one, Mr. Ayush, you have to examine and you have to tell me if he is a qualified auditor appointment or there is any problem in this case. So he's a chartered accountant who is already appointed as an auditor of X Limited. Subsequently, he has joined B as a partner. Mr. B is also working as a finance executive of X Limited. He's not qualified. So he was a qualified partner, but subsequently he became disqualified. Aditya Kumar, we are having the sessions at the same time if you're asking about the same question. Then we are being appointed. So Mr. B is also working as a finance executive of X Limited. So now you are a partner of an employee. You have joined as a partner. So partner of an officer and employee is also disqualified. All right. I'll make you read the answers also. Let me read the second one. Mr. Rabi, a practicing chartered accountant, is holding the securities of Abhiman Limited having a face value of rupees 1,000. Is he qualified for the appointment or not? The second one. The first one, all of you have given me the correct answer. Ayush is not continuing to be the statutory auditor is absolutely correct. Dilip, very good. Ajit Surya, Manvi, Sukhveer. Is the second one, he is qualified or disqualified, Neeru? All right. Very good. Correct answers given by all of you. Let me show you the answers. How do you have to write? Because statutory auditor cannot hold the share. Very good. The relative can hold the share. Absolutely correct. Very good. So how you have to attempt the answers now? Provisions and explanation, section 141, subsection 3. बेटा subsection 3 तो कम से कम आप लोग याद कर ही लेना, because disqualifications कहाँ पे हैं? Section 141 gives you eligibility, then qualification, and then 141 subsection 3 gives you all these A, B, C, D, I, F disqualification. So 141 subsection 3 you all have to learn. It gives a very good impression. You cannot remember the clauses, it's okay. It's okay. But at least 141 subsection 3, you have to learn it. So under clause C, we have read that partner or employee of an officer is disqualified. Subsection 4 says that after your appointment, if you become liable to any of the disqualification, you will have to vacate the office. So Ayush gets it right. Remember the last line of section 141, what we have read over there is that if you are disqualified later on also, then it shall deem to be a casual vacancy will be created. That is again how examiner can ask you a question on this also. They can link both these points. Remember how the casual vacancy has to be filled in. If it is a normal company, there was a different procedure. If it is a government company, then 60 days, 90 days provision you had to follow in the same. Okay, 30 days and 60 days. Same provision had to be followed for the casual vacancy also. Yes, 15 days within 3 months. So it was for the government companies and non-government company, whatever procedure you have to follow. Yes, very good, Lahari Maraju. He will have to vacate this office and it will be treated as a casual vacancy. So 141 subsection 3 clause C gets attracted and he will have to vacate his office. Regarding the second point, 141(3)(d), it says the auditor is disqualified if his relative is holding any security in the company. In the present case, he is holding security, therefore he is not eligible. If he himself or his relative or partner is holding any security, only up to the value of 1 lakh rupees, which is exempted, only if the relative is holding the face value of 1 lakh. Any security which he himself is holding, he is not eligible for the appointment as an auditor. I hope everyone is clear on both the points. No, Kasak Yadav, he cannot be a partner and employee at the same time. Okay. The question that you have asked. All right. Everybody has written crystal clear. So that's wonderful. So this one we'll do a little later. Now I want to proceed towards section 143, and then again, near approaching the end of the session, we'll come back to our revision sessions of the question answers round. All right, now let's start with the powers and duties of the auditors and auditing standard. We have already started with the powers of auditors. So what are the 3 powers that we have done? Quickly answer me in the chat box. Number 1, the auditor has the right to access the books of accounts all the time. He can also inquire from the officer's information and explanation was the second point. And the third was for the consolidation purposes. If he needs any information, he can inquire and ask for the subsidiaries records also. Now we have started these 6 points that he can inquire into. Absolutely correct. All of you have given the correct answers. Moving down to the 6 points that the auditor can inquire are whether any loans and advances have been given by the company. In case any loans, and so first point was L&E, loans and advances, whether they are properly secured or there are any terms which are prejudicial to the interest of the company. I told you in the previous class, if a director has been given any loan and we are not charging any interest from him, that means that this is prejudicial to the interest of company. Is it affecting the interest of the company? Any such thing has been done, then auditor has to inquire about it. What is the meaning of inquire? He will question them about this, that why you have done like this, it is not acceptable. Then the next one is whether the transactions are represented merely by book entry. So if you have revalued the assets, whatever you have done, just a mere book entry, whether you have proper records to prove that entries or not. The third point was very, very important. So my question to All right, all right. Very sorry, students. There was some major technical error in between. I'm sorry you had to wait for that. So let's continue. I hope I'm now clearly visible to all of you and you can hear me. So we were discussing about the powers and duties of the auditors. So the question that I've asked you, the last question that I asked you that was when the shares purchased are sold for a lesser price, which are the companies which are not affected by that? They were investment company and banking company. After that, we had to see the loans and advances have been shown as deposits. Are there any points? Yes, that's absolutely correct. All right. So, are there any loans and advances made which were shown as deposits? Are you charging any personal expenses to revenue account? Now, what is the meaning of this line? Okay. All right. All right. Eventually I can see all your answers coming up. Everything is now visible on the screen. So thankfully, yes, good. Yes, Nanda, absolutely correct. The drawings that you would draw, or maybe you say that you have purchased a mobile phone for a personal use and you have put it to P&L account. So any of your personal expenditures done should not be reflecting in the revenue account. What is the meaning of revenue account? Revenue account means that your profit and loss account, your balance sheet, they should always be reflecting the true and correct picture of the financial statements as well as the books of accounts. Whether it is stated in the books and the documents that the shares, I hope my screen is now clear to all of you because it is still showing me some error in between. Okay. So the books and accounts which have been are showing the correct picture where the shares are allotted for cash. Have you received the cash for such allotment or not? Now, what happens is that if any kind of shares have been issued and you have received the cash money for that, so cash account debited to share capital account, the shares have been issued in return of that. So have you actually received the cash or not? Yes, Aditya Kumar, you want to ask something? You can write it down in the chat box. Aditya Kumar, you want to speak something? Because of the internet error, children, we were not able to, you were not able to see me before. I hope now the net is absolutely clear and it's clearly visible to all of you. So yes, you have not missed upon anything. There was only an error in between. So we are on the same page, the books and accounts, how the pictures are being showed, if the cash has been received, where the cash entry is there in the subsidiary books and the share capital issues is clearly visible in the balance sheet. After that, we have to see, so these are the important 6 points, which are the points where the auditor can set an inquiry for. Moving on to the point of auditor's report. Who is going to make this report? The auditor is going to make a report about the books that he has examined, and this report will be laid down before the company in the general meeting. So when you were doing the chapter of management and administration, you have clearly read about this, that whenever the AGM is happening, the audit report is being laid down in front of them. They can see how the accounting and auditing standards were performed, how the matters have been considered in the audit report. And to the best of his information and knowledge, he will tell, the auditor will tell whether the accounts are reflecting the true and correct picture of the books of affairs at the end of financial year and profit and loss for the year. You all know this statement for balance sheet. It is always at the end of the financial year, how my balance sheet is showing pictures and how my performance has been during the year has been shown through the cash flow statements and profit and loss account. The auditor will also tell them that all the information and explanation that was asked for it. Now, what is audit report like? You remember we have done in section 134. What was section 134? Can anyone remind me what we have discussed in section 134 in the chapter related to accounts of companies? What was section 134? Very good. Lahari Moruju, the first one to give the answer. Yes, everyone? Only Lahari remembers? Not what about others? Or I am not getting the answers again? Yes, it's board's report. Report of the board of directors in which we have done DRS also director statements. We have discussed about that. So the way we have discussed section 134, the board's report. Similarly, 143 talks about the audit report. What all are the matters which the auditor has to state in his report? So the first point is broken down into 3 points. Number 1, he has asked for the information and explanation. He has examined them and he laid down the audit report on in front of the shareholders. telling that whatever information or explanation was given to me, I have seen whether the books of accounts are reflecting the true and correct picture. After that, 143 subsection 3 talks about, section 143 subsection 3 talks about what are the matters to be included in the audit report. Whether the information and explanation, now we were breaking down into different points. Number one is I and E. Whether all the information and explanation, the auditor has requested for certain information. Say, for example, the auditor had a doubt that the purchase voucher is not matching with the entries made in the cash book. So he said, whatever purchasing was made, please show me the subsidiary book related to the purchases also. But the company refused to show that. They said, okay, no, we have shown you the cash information. You have to trust us. The purchasing information is also the same. So if he has asked for any information and explanation and it was not given to him, see, what does it say? Whether all the information to the best of his knowledge, and if not received, what is its impact on the financial statement? So he can write down in his audit report that this is the information which I requested for. And if they have not given me, this might be the effect on the financial statements, which has to be clearly told them. Okay. After that, the books of accounts as required by law have been kept, examined, and proper returns have been received. Now, where are you talking about the proper? Sukhdevi Kaur, if you have any doubt, you can write down in the chat box. The session we are doing is all about your audit and auditors. We are discussing section 143, that is audit report. Okay. Hardik, what is preservance and about its preservedness and materiality? Absolutely correct. That is absolutely correct. All right. So the proper books of accounts have been maintained or not regarding the branch office also. So if you are a company's statutory auditor, say for example, Mr. A is company's statutory auditor and company is also having its branch office in, if the office is in Delhi, but they have a branch office in Pune also. So sometimes what happens, children, this statutory auditor, Mr. A, is only doing the audit of Pune books of accounts also. Remember branch office, section 128, 129, the branch accounts, how the accounts of the companies are being maintained. If it is maintained at a separate branch head, then also the auditor can either, he can ask for the books of accounts, he can tell them that whatever books you're having in Pune office, please give me a soft copy or I want to have the access to that as well. But sometimes it is not feasible to get all the books over here. Then you appoint a separate auditor for that branch office. So if company auditor is only doing the branch office audit, then so there is no problem. But if Mr. A is not doing, he's only taking the care of audit of Delhi books, and Mr. B is a separate auditor who is doing the audit of Pune books, then you have to get the branch audit report also, and Mr. A will give his comments how he has dealt with this branch office report. Either he will himself do the audit of Pune office books, or he will take the company's auditor has been sent and the manner in which he has been dealt while preparing. So while Mr. A is preparing his audit report, he will have to tell them that how he has included this. Yes, we have to align all reports. Absolutely, Anil Army, that's absolutely correct. You have to take care of all the books. Yes, Nayan Patel, you want to ask something? Yes, speak, Nayan. You want to speak something? Children, I'll give you time for the queries. Okay. All right. Yes, periodical returns. Nanda Goel, absolutely correct. If any branch audit is being happening, whatever the periodical returns, different branches, the books of accounts have been kept, you have to ask for the proper periodical returns have been received or not. So the first 3 points relate to your information and explanation related to books. Second is periodical returns have been received or not. For the branches that you have not visited, you ask for the periodical returns. Third is, if the branch audit is being done by a separate auditor, then he will send his report and how you have included that while preparing your own audit report. Okay. Whether the company's balance sheet and profit and loss account dealt are in agreement with the books of accounts. Now, D point is very, very interesting. So your company's balance sheet is showing me that you have purchased. Okay. Yes, I was about to ask you one question. That is absolutely correct. Somebody has reminded me also of that. The point where I was discussing about investments. So I was asking you a question over here, the time when your internet just got stuck in between. I was asking you a question that whether the assets of the companies which have been sold at a price less than the purchase price. Okay, na, this was the question number one that is not applicable to investment and banking companies. The second question to all of you is, am I talking about the assets over here relates to land and building and plant and machinery also? Is it relating to all the assets of the organization, or what kind of assets are included over here? Very good. Absolutely correct. Wonderful answer. So here the assets are only about the shares, debentures, and other securities. So when we are talking about the third point out of the 6 points, how you have to inquire about the questions that you have to ask, here the assets must be relating to your shares, debentures, and other securities. You can write down in your notes. It does not include plant and machinery, land and building, and other assets. It is only talking specifically about shares and debentures. So you can remember point number C and F, 2 points related to shares. Point number A and D, 2 points related to loans and advances. Point number E is personal expenditures. Point number B was mere book entries. So this is a simpler way of learning these points. All right. All right. Now the auditor's report, the 3 points we have done, we were discussing about the fourth point. So if any assets that I'm showing you over here are, let me see if my connection is now, I hope totally audible, clear to all of you, okay? Because now I've just changed the connection only. So any company's balance sheet and profit and loss, how we are dealing with it. So there is a balance sheet of the company which is showing the assets, land and purchase worth rupees 1 crore. So now how do I have to check this balance sheet, whatever is giving? I hope my voice is clear, children. Some of you are again writing, the voice is stuck in the middle. I hope now my voice and screen is absolutely clear to all of you. Please confirm. Okay, thank you, Hardik, for confirming. It's totally clear. Dilip, thank you so much. All right. So if the assets worth 1 crore have been purchased, how will you try to verify whether it is correct? How will you verify it? You have to check certain vouchers, the books of accounts, how it was prepared, whether the actual purchases is being shown in the books of accounts or not. So how do we do that? Whenever we make the accounts, first we pass the journal entries, then we do the posting of the entries in subsidiary books. What is the third step? What do you prepare after you have prepared your subsidiary books? Now, when you'll answer, I'll come to know that my voice is visible. Vouching tricks of a CA. Okay, very good, Anil Army. Trial balance and cash account. Absolutely correct. So all my students know that we have to prepare a trial balance. So an auditor will ask for the trial balance and he will see that proper floating of the trial balance has gone into profit and loss account and cash flow statements, and your balance sheet is reflecting the true and correct picture. So for example, there is a trial balance which is showing the entry of asset purchase, land and building of 10 crores. But your total assets are amounting to 1 crore. So he can ask that where is the entry for this balance 9 crore? Is it a mere book entry that you have shown inflated price, or you have not booked it in your balance sheet? You're not reflecting the true and correct picture. So point number D relates to this point, that the auditor has to see whether profit and loss and company's balance sheet is in agreement with books of accounts. Means यहाँ पे वो trial balance की बात कर कि whatever trial balance you have prepared, whatever books you have prepared, is it in line with that or not? All right. Okay. Whether the financial statements comply with the accounting standards. So there are different accounting standards. Whether you are preparing your financial statements as per the accounting standards or not, that is very, very important. Observations and comment of the auditors on financial transaction having an adverse effect on the functioning of company. Point number F is very, very important and very interesting. Now, there is a company, ABC Limited, and they have appointed the auditor, Mr. A. Mr. A found that this company has imported a machinery from foreign which is worth rupees 5 crores. And the similar machinery is available in our own country and having the same functioning, which is 3 crores. So now if certain kind of expenditures have been incurred by the company, which is not very fruitful, and it is having any adverse effect on the functioning of the company, which in the eyes of auditor, he feels like that it is affecting the functioning of the company, then he must give such observations, he must give certain kind of comments in his audit report about these financial transactions. All right. Point number G says, I told you children, section 164 is part of your CA final syllabus where you learn about directors, qualifications, disqualifications. But only one point you have to remember in the audit report is that if any auditor, if any director is disqualified as per section 164 subsection 2, then he has to include this information also in his audit report. He has to tell if there is any director who is disqualified from being appointed as a director. Any qualification, reservation, and adverse remarks relating to the maintenance of accounts. So one, you have told them the observations and affecting the adverse effects. If you're having any kind of adverse effect transactions, that you have to report. Any kind of matters which you feel that you're not, any kind of qualification you want to give, that your books are not being properly reflecting the correct picture of the true accounts, then also he can tell about this thing in his audit report. Point number I told you tells you about IFSC. IFSC means internal financial controls, whether the company has adequate financial controls. Now, what is the meaning of having adequate financial controls? Whatever systems that the company has set up, are you having proper controlling systems with reference to financial statements? It is not talking related to information systems. Can an auditor do the designing of the information systems? Can an auditor provide you management services and an auditor has the power to do these kind of things? Tell me. If you are the auditor of the company, can you prepare the books of accounts? Can you give them management services? Why not? You all have written the correct answer. No, ma'am, we cannot do that. Excellent. Why? Because it is a disqualification under 144 means prohibited services. Absolutely correct. Good, good, good. Now I can feel the vibe of my class is back. Abhishek Mishra, Neeru, Anjali, Nancy, everybody has given the correct answer. Purv, Dalip, very nice. Good student, because section 144 we have done in the previous class. 144 talks about the prohibited services. So if the company has adequate internal financial controls also you have to see, and whether these controls are operating effectively or not. That is also his duty to see. So you have kept an internal control in the system. Say, for example, the company has adopted a biometric system for putting the attendance. So are you actually following that system also? Whatever you have decided about the internal controls, this is related to your employees' attendance. So this is not a part of auditor's role, but I'm just giving you a random example that if companies having this kind of systems, are they actually following? So any internal control related to financial systems, if you have book, any software that you are following, are you actually operating it effectively or not? Are you following that as well? All right. So now after that, but this provision is not applicable to certain companies. Can you tell me which are the companies to which the internal financial controls are not applicable? There are certain kind of not applicable. Can you name those companies? Absolutely correct. OPC, small companies and private companies having the turnover less than 50 crores and borrowing less than 25 crores. Absolutely correct. Good. I'll show you where it is written in your study material also. And such other matters as may be prescribed. So there are certain other matters also which says that any litigations, if they are pending litigations on the, and what effect it is having on the financial position of the company. So pending litigations means that, for example, the company is having any case which is going on against the company and it is still not sorted out. So what kind of impact it is having on my financial statements, whether I'm going to pay extra money or I'm going to receive extra money from outsiders. So these are the Rule 11 specifically tells about the other matters of the audit. Now, what is important for you is section 143, subsection 3, all these clauses from A to J. But Rule 11 has given you some other matters, so we can just give it a fair reading, not that important. So pending litigation is the first point. Company has made provisions for the any foreseeable losses. So you're saying that there is 100% there is going to be losses in the company. Companies having long-term contracts, including derivative contracts, and company can foresee the losses happening, then also you have to report about that. Whether the company has transferred the material entries to investor education and protection fund. Remember when we were doing CSR, when we were doing accounts of companies, we have discussed about IEPF account. Whatever the amounts needs to be transferred, have the company transferred these amounts to this fund or no? When the management, to the best of his knowledge, has seen that no funds have been advanced or borrowed by the company, whether recorded in writing, directly or indirectly, lended or investment in the other companies. So any kind of advances, loans, borrowings that the company has been doing, it also has to be disclosed and as well as reported by the auditor. Any investments in the foreign entities that you have made or received by the company, the audit procedures that they have followed are best to their knowledge. If any dividend has been declared by the company, whether it has been paid in compliance with the Companies Act. So if the company is declaring a dividend, whether the shareholders have actually received that dividend or not. So these kind of information, if there is any delay in IEPF, dividend provisions, your ultimate beneficiary points, whether it has been taken care about that. Not say here is your ultimate beneficiaries, whether they have been identified or provided any guarantee. So you can refer back to the chapter where we have discussed in detail about the ultimate beneficiaries, who are those कौन ultimately beneficiaries हैं आपकी company में, about them you have to report. And then you have to tell them that where the books of accounts are having the proper audit trail. Remember audit trail, the first part of the chapter of accounts of companies, when we started section 128, I told you whether when we are following the audit trail, proper audit log has to be maintained, proper trailing of the transactions can be done. So all these things related to accounting software, audit trail, dividend, ultimate beneficiary, pending litigations, and no delay in IEPF account. That is all that you can remember, just big headings, and that's it. Any matters included in the audit report is negative or qualification, the report shall give the reasons for that. So if anything you find that it is not as per the compliance, you have to give the reasons why you have given this negative comment. So if auditor says that the purchase book is not, yes, electronic mode, absolutely, Kasak Yadav, Lahori, Apurv, Hardik, Abhishek, Mishra, Bhumika, all of you have given the correct answers, children. Wonderful. So if your audit report is having any negative comments, say for example, you said that purchase books are not tallying with the vouchers. So give a reason. You have to tell the reasons that these information was given to you, or what is the reason, what is the explanation for that has to be given. Now, fifth point is very important. Here you can mark down that now we are going to talk about the government company audit. So government company auditor, whom do we report about the government company auditor? C&AG was involved whenever we discussed about the government auditor. So it says the C&AG will appoint the auditor as per provisions of section 139, subsection 5 and 7. What were these? C&AG decides who is the first auditor, and then it decides about the subsequent auditors. Is the auditor for government company appointed for 5 years or 10 years? Let me take your test. The auditor for government company is appointed for 5 years or 10 years? For 1 year at every AGM, ma'am, we have to appoint the auditor for government company. Excellent. Good. Wonderful answer given by all. And who appoints the auditor of a government company? C&AG. Within how many days he has to appoint it? Within how many days C&AG has to appoint it? Nanda Goyal, 1 year? Okay, that was for the previous one. 60 days is the absolute correct answer. Their board of directors was given 30 days, but it is a government organization, you give 60 days. At leisure, you can move. Huh? Okay. And if C&AG fails to appoint the auditor in 60 days, then what will happen? Anjali, Aisha, Nancy, Apoor, Neeru, Sagar, Sukhveer Kaur, wonderful answers, all of you. 30 days by board of directors. Very good. Still, they have not appointed. No worries, Mahi. I understand that you all know the answers. Good. If board of directors also fail, then again 60 days. EGM, absolutely correct. Extraordinary general meeting. Applause for all you students. You have memorized section 139 so well. I'm so happy for that. Okay. So all these provisions, children, keep writing down, keep doing written practice. 60 days, 30 days, 60 days. Okay. And there also you remember 60 days and 90 days provision that we have discussed for the other companies. All right. Now, what will happen? CNAG, you all remember we have revised controller and auditor general will appoint the auditor under section 139 and he will direct the manner. Let me mark down the points for all of you. Number one, CNAG is going to tell you that how the auditor will come. Number two, he is going to direct how this auditor has to work. CNAG will only going to tell me that this is the directions according to which you have to do your audit. So now this auditor so appointed will submit a copy of his audit report. Three things he's going to give in writing. Number one, these are the directions which were given to me by C&AG. Number two, the actions taken by me during the audit. And number three, what is the impact on the financial statement? So this auditor to whom you have appointed by C&AG, he will give in writing three things, that directions given by C&AG. Second is actions taken by this auditor. Whatever directions you gave me, how you told me to do the audit, how I have done the audit. And this is the impact on the financial statements. This is the auditor of government company. Because we have discussed the audit report of the other companies, they were telling them, yes, we will discuss all these points, Lahari Maraju, from study material also. Don't worry. Okay. So this is how you have to learn for the government company, controller and auditor general. Now I'm going to tell you a very important point, supplement and test audit, and then we will go to the study material. So CNAG within 60 days from the date of the audit report have a right to conduct a supplementary audit. Now we are going to have a discussion about the supplementary audit. And there is another word, that is test audit. So test audit is always for the books of account. This is something little additional information that I'm sharing with you. And supplementary audit is always for the financial statements. So test audit is a surprise audit. CNAG can come and tell your test audit that I want to see your books of accounts, whether you have maintained them properly or not. So in government company, you can also have this test audit, which can be done by CNAG. And supplementary audit is, now when the auditor has given his information that these were the directions, yes, Anil is saying like supply exams. So supplementary is additional. That's something you have to do more in relation to the audit. So when the auditor has given his things, that number one, directions that you have given me, this is the action, this is the impact. And here if CNAG feel that no, something more needs to be done, I'm not very satisfied with your audit report. So I give you 60 days, do a supplementary audit. What will CNAG say? CNAG will give them 60 days to do a supplementary audit by the person he has authorized, and such information has to be given to them which is required. And he will say that you can take the additional information and you have to give me comments and supplement on such audit report. So what will happen? This is how the information will flow. First, CNAG will appoint the auditor. This auditor will give his report. CNAG will ask them to do a supplementary audit within 60 days. And after 60 days, he will have to give his report on the same. And CNAG will comment on such supplementary audit and then give his final report to the to the shareholders. Final report after taking the supplementary audit comments given by the CNAG, he will now give this audit report to every person. All the audited financial statements, means to all the members of the company, it will be circulated, and also it will be laid down in the HEM. If he still feels the need to do the test audit, then under section 139, subsection 5 and C, whosoever is the auditor appointed, he can ask them to do the test audit. So CNAG has the power to get the test audit. Test audit is just a surprise audit that he can do whether your books of accounts have been properly maintained. But supplementary audit is of your detailed financial statement. What is the difference between books of accounts and financial statements? Can anyone tell me? Because we have done chapter number 1 preliminary very nicely. So questions related to this can come. What is books of accounts and what is financial statement? Is there any difference? Is there any difference between books of accounts and financial statements? Feel free to cheat and tell me the correct answer. Yes, ma'am, there is a difference. Books of accounts are vouchers, deeds, journals, ledgers, very good. And financial statements include P&L, balance sheet. You should give me correct definition. It is an important definition. Financial statements, you must learn it. Okay, good. Kasak has given the full information. Bhumika also, good, good. Abhishek, Manvi, Pallavi, Mahi, Nanda, Goel, Lahari, Maruchu, Hardik, very good. So you remember, children? So financial statements are your detailed books of accounts, P&L, financial statements, cash flow statements, and other statements of equity, changes in equity, and your books of accounts. So these kind of statements can be opened by CNAG, and you can come and check your accounts whether they have been properly maintained or not. All right, moving ahead. If the company has any branch office, the accounts of that audit has been done how? So I told you, if you have a branch office, whatever branch audit has been done, auditor is going to ask for his books also. But here, 8th point relates to specific related to do branch office if it is situated in India, number one, and if it is situated outside India. If the branch office is situated within India, then the company's auditor only can do that, or any other person who is eligible to be appointed as a. So either if you are the auditor of the company, you can also go and do the branch audit. Remember, Mr. A in Delhi, he can also go and do the audit of Pune. Otherwise, any other chartered accountant can also be eligible to audit the books of accounts, but he has to send a return, a memorandum that this is the report of the branch office books of accounts. So first part is branch office in India, same company's auditor can do, or any other person who is qualified, but that person has to send a memorandum or a return that this is how I've done the audit, and the company's auditor will include the branch audit report in his report. And if the office is situated outside India, say for example, if it is situated in USA, then the accounts will be audited, number one, by Mr. A himself, or by any accountant or a person duly qualified as per the laws of that country. So the US auditor, who's to either the Indian auditor, the same Mr. A will go and do the audit in USA. He'll be so lucky now. You're sending him to USA. Would you like to do the audit of a company who has a branch office in USA? So the company auditor will be very happy. I'll also go to USA. I'll also get so much exposure, and I will do the books of accounts. But then you need to have the knowledge about the laws of that country as well. You have to have the experience of how the books of accounts have been prepared as per their laws. Or any the person who is qualified as an auditor. So the easiest way is that you qualify as an auditor in US only, you will appoint that person, and then again they will send a return that this is how the branch office audit has been done. Now, the duties and powers which have been given with respect to branch office are the same which you have discussed under section 143, subsection 1 to 4. Branch auditor will prepare his report and he will send it to the auditor of the company, and he will tell how he has dealt it in the manner as we have discussed in the point of audit report. Any doubt still here, children? Every auditor will comply with the auditing standards. Internal auditor Lahari Mariju has asked a very interesting question. Can he be a person who is not a practicing chartered accountant? So first of all, internal auditor under section 138 and statutory auditor under section 139 onwards. Number one. Number two, internal auditor is always different. The statutory auditor cannot be appointed as the internal auditor. Any internal auditor, for statutory auditor, it is mandatory to be a practicing chartered accountant. So internal auditor, you have to clearly refer to the provisions that we have done under section 130. So even if any employee of the organization, if he's having a qualified degree, then he can be appointed as the internal auditor of the organization. Yes, Hardik. Central government will prescribe the standards of auditings to be followed as recommended by ICAI. So you all remember the definition of accounting standards. You all remember the definition of auditing standards. Who will frame the auditing standards? The FARA on recommendations in consultation with ICAI will frame it, and central government will finally prescribe these auditing standards. Central government in consultation with the FARA will also direct the auditor's report. So central government can ask them to include something additional also, whatever they feel like. Now, subsection 12 is very, very important. Another section 143, subsection 12, which is coming up, it relates to fraud. You can mark down, it is one of the important section of chapter 10. After doing this fraud topic, we'll take a small break, okay? So just pay attention. Reporting of fraud by the auditors. If an auditor of the company in the ordinary course of duties has the reason to believe. So number one point is during the course of audit. First keep on writing down this short summary that I'm going to do. Number one point is section 143, subsection 12. Number one point is during the performance of his duty. Number two, the auditor finds any fraud. Number three, the amount of fraud is more than rupees 1 crore. Is rupees 1 crore and more equal to or more than rupees 1 crore? Fraud is being done against the company by the officers or employee. Company के खिलाफ fraud करा गया, officers करे, employee and officers of the company, they are doing. And point number 5, report it immediately to the central government. Within how much time? Minimum 2 days. Within 2 days, you should report it to the central government. The auditor will report the matter to the board or audit committee as the case may be, but not later than 2 days. He will report the matter to the central government and to the audit committee and board within how many days? Within 2 days, he has to report. He can either go to the audit committee or he can go to the board of directors. Why they have given you 2 choices? If it is less than 1 crore, Anil, I will tell you what you have to do. As of now, I'm telling you 143 subsection 12 is applicable when your fraud is more than or equal to 1 crore. Okay, Anil? So you will report the matter immediately within the time and manner as may prescribe. Auditor will report the matter to the central government. He will report immediately, go to the board and audit committee. Why I was saying 2? Because audit committee, if you don't have an audit committee, then board of directors. Remember section 177 in the beginning of this chapter we have done? The companies where it is mandatory to appoint the audit committee. So if you don't have the audit committee, to whom will you go? You will go to the board of directors. What was the role of audit committee? Can anyone remind me what was the role of audit committee? What was audit committees? Within 2 days, you have to go to the audit committee or board of directors and asking them to give a reply within 45 days. Yes, audit committee will give the recommendation to the board of directors for appointing the auditors. Absolutely correct. All right, let's come back to it. Will fix some standards for the auditors. Okay, that is also correct. But basically, it is for the appointment of the auditor and its recommendation has to be given. Remember when we said audit committee will say we want to appoint E&Y, board of directors said no, we want KPMG. They will again send back the recommendation. They will again tell you that is how the role of audit committee we have discussed in the beginning when the auditors are to be appointed by the board of directors and shareholders. So within 2 days, you will report the matter to the audit committee or the board, depending upon whatever the case. If you have audit committee, go to the audit committee. If you don't have audit committee, you will go to the board of directors, asking them to give their reply within 45 days. So how many points you have done till here? 5 points. Number 1, during the course of performance. Number 2, you have found a fraud more than or equal to 1 crore. It is against the company. Report it immediately to the central government. How the reporting has to be done to the central government? Number 1, you will go. Now, this is the first point. Number 1, you will go to the audit committee or board of directors within 2 days and asking them to give their reply in 45 days. Auditor will say that this is the fraud happening in your company. Can you please give me reasons? What about his knowledge of fraud and seeking their observations? Can you tell me what are your observations on this? And after receiving his observations, he will forward the report and observations of the board and audit committee to the central government within 15 days. In case the auditor fails to get the reply, then after 45 days expire, he will forward his report to the central. So this is how the whole procedure has to be learned. First, report to audit committee or board of director. कितने दिनों में? Within 2 days, report the fraud and ask for reasons. Reasons to be given by board or audit committee within how many days? Within 45 days. After receiving reasons, report to CG in next 15 days. Section 143, subsection 12, the very important section of audit chapter relating to fraud. If your fraud is more than or equal to 1 crore, you will immediately report it to the audit committee or board within 2 days, asking them to give a reply within 15 days. If they send a reply within 45 days, if they send the reply within 45 days, within 15 days of the reply received, you have to report it to the central government. And if auditor has sent his report and they do not reply in 45 days, then whatever time period that you have given them, say for example, you have reported them on 1st of March. So you gave them time till 31st and 15th April, 45 days, 30 days of March and 15th April, 45 days. Now this 45 days expired, next 15 days. So within 16th April to 30th April, you have to report it to the central government. Give them the time of 45 days. If no reply has been received, forward your report along with the details forwarded to them on which you have not received reply within 45 days. So after expiry of 45 days, you will report to the central government in next 15 days. Is this clear, all of you? Everyone to 45, 15. Very good, Pallavi, Abhishek, Hardik. All of you have written it correctly over here. Sukhveer Kaur, nice. Audit can audit committee include in fraud? So Kasak Yadav, if audit committee or management is going to tell you that there is a fraud in the organization, then 143 subsection 12 is not applicable. So what is the first point that I made you write down? During the course of his duties, auditor has observed the fraud. If somebody from the management is telling me, look, auditor, we are doing a fraud, my friend in the company is doing a fraud, then 143 subsection 12 is not applicable. Auditor during the course of his duties. मैं दिखाती हूँ आपको कहाँ लिखा है. So this line is very, very important. Audit. If an auditor in the course of his performance of his duties has the reason to believe that offense involves fraud. The auditor while doing, yes, auditor observes the fraud. That is important. If auditor hasn't observed any fraud, then only 143 subsection 12 comes into picture. This first slide of this point is clear. Observations, 2 days, 45 days, 15 days. Now, along with the note that details, he will also send a reason that, look, I gave them time of 45 days, they did not reply me. So this also reasons also have to be shared, whatever that he has not received the reply. Now, these 3 bullets relate to how you have to send the reply to central government. It is a very formal way of sending a report on fraud. You cannot just, you're reporting to the central government. If board of directors not involved in any detail, Bhumika, your question is not clear. What are you asking? If board of directors not involved in any details, I think something you have missed upon. You can write it down again. So how will you report this fraud? Now these 1, 2, 3 pointer, how the reporting of the fraud has to be done. This report will be sent to the Secretary of Ministry of Corporate Affairs. So you're going to send this report to the Secretary of MCA in a sealed registered post with acknowledgement due or speed post by an email in confirmation for the same. So you will email also how this is a very, very formal way of sending the report of fraud. So we are discussing about the mode of sending the report of the fraud. You will send it to the Secretary of MCA in a sealed registered post with acknowledgement because it is a very confidential matter. You are complaining about somebody that this company is doing fraud more than rupees 1 crores, equivalent or more than 1 crore. So you send it with acknowledgement due or speed post followed by an email. So you also have to write an email that we have sent you the copy of the report of fraud. It will also be sent on the letterhead of the auditor containing the postal address, email address, even the membership number of the auditor and mobile number has to be sent indicating his membership number. The report shall be in the form of the statement form ADT 4. Yes, Bhumika, if they're silent, that's why auditor has come now. So you have written if they're silent, knowing about the fraud. So then that's why we appoint auditors. Auditors are there to tell you what you're doing in your organization. So if you ask me, directors are also involved in fraud and they want to give money to the auditors and he is also involved in fraud, then section 147 is coming. A very severe liability and punishment will be applicable to all of you. If auditor also eats money and stays silent about the fraud, we have a penalty for you. Okay? All right. So the report shall be in the form ADT4, which I'm going to show you after a short break. I'm going to show you ADT4 form. And if the fraud is less than 1 crore, my friends who were asking, ma'am, if fraud is less than 1 crore, then let's resolve the matter in house only, report the matter to the audit committee or the board of directors, tell them, but not later than days, at least minimum 2 days, you shall report them and tell them the nature of fraud, amount involved and parties involved. It is very important to tell them. उनको तो बताओगे ना कि इन्होंने fraud करा है, these are the parties who are doing the fraud. And this is the amount, suppose 80 lakh rupees. This is the amount involved, and this is the nature of fraud. Give a proper description that they are purchasing the things, but they're not booking the entries. They are eating the personal profits or whatever they are doing. Whatever is the reason, just give them the reasons. So if fraud is less than 1 crore, what you have to do? Go to the audit committee or board of directors, as the case may be, within 2 days. 3 things you have to tell me. Write in the chat box what are the 3 things that you have to tell. What are the 3 things that you will tell? Nature of the fraud, amount involved, and parties involved. Because you have to make them feel embarrassed now that these are the parties involved. Understood? So I think let's take a small break because we have done hurriedly so much of things. So just go through whatever we have discussed, and after the break, we'll continue. If auditor is pleased with the reasons received in 40 days, can he take the allegation back? You're not supposed to take your allegation. And this is not an allegation, Lahari Moruju. You have just reported. So if whatever the reasons they have told you, if he's satisfied, it is your duty to report it to the central government. This is what that section is saying. You're not taking any action. The actions have to be taken by the higher parties. Okay. So go through this point. It is a little technical. Go through these points, and I know you'll be having a number of queries. So let's take a small break here. All right, welcome back, students. I hope you have read this topic of section 143, subsection 12. So my question to the class is, if there is an employee who has done a fraud worth rupees 15 crores, and this fraud was brought to the notice of the auditor by another employee, do you need to report this matter to the central government or only to the audit committee and board of directors? How will you deal with it? Do you need to bring it to the attention of the central government? Am I audible? Can you hear me, children? Okay. All right, the answers have started coming. Audit committee and central government. Yes, no, central government, you'll not go to the central government. You will only report it to the audit committee or board of directors. You will not go to central. Why you will not go to the central government? Because this is the fraud which has been not detected, not performed, not found by the auditor himself. Yes, investigate by yourself. Now I can see your answers. Very good. You will, because he's an employee, not auditor. Okay, good. Because it is not detected in the course of audit. Absolutely correct. So these are the points that we have done. These are the first 3 points that I told you, accessing the books of information, record subsidiary. These are the six points that we have learned about inquiry. How do you have to learn the 6 points? 2 points related to loans and advances. 2 points are mere book entries and personal expenditure related se point hai. 2 points related to shares and debentures. One is shares, cash not received. One is shares or debentures sold at lesser price. This is how your reporting has to be done of the audit report. And subsection 3 is your audit report shall include all these matters we have discussed. We have done their abbreviations also. All these things are over. And your subsection 12. Now, question number, M&O Limited, a listed company, is engaged in the business of trading of various products, and companies plan to start manufacturing of certain products which are currently traded. During the course of its audit, the auditors completed all the procedures related to the audit of financial statements, and they got stuck on one procedure because of which audit has not got concluded. So they have doing the audit, but the audit is not concluded. They're waiting for the additional information like director's report and management discussion analysis for the review. However, management is not ready to give this information and want the auditors to complete their work without the review of this information. Now, is it important for them to wait for this information, or auditor can give his report? What do you feel like, children? Read the question very carefully and tell me the answer. In your perspective, is it important to look for this information, or what will you say? It says the requirement is regarding additional information. He's asking for this, which they had not been able to conclude. Doesn't look valid. If you have not seen the director's report and others management discussion analysis, it is an internal matter. If it is having their impact on the financial statements, then they can report it. So auditors should conclude their work without delaying it, because you will not delay your work. You can simply, yes, not as important. Very good. So you will simply apply that principle of the first point. I have asked for the information explanation. This is the impact. If it is having any impact, mention that. Otherwise, you can proceed with your work. All right. There's another question that I want to do with you. So see how beautifully study material has highlighted these points of fraud, offense involving fraud, 1 crore or more. So if the fraud is rupees 1 crore only, do I need to report it to the central government? Very good. Yes. 1 crore or more, both has to be reported. Within 2 days, board or audit committee, within how many days they need to give the reply back? 45 days. And within how many days after the reply you go to the central government? 15 days. Very good. If they fail to get the reply in 45 days, then he will forward his report that earlier forwarded to the board for which he has not received the reply. And this is how the mode has to be done on your letterhead of the auditor. MCQ can come related to this. That auditor will send the report of the fraud on his letterhead or on the company's letterhead. if there is an auditor, SSR and Associates, and he is doing the audit of ABC Limited. So I will send the report of fraud on SSR Associates letterhead or on the letterhead of ABC Limited. Answer me. MCQ for all of you. Own SSR Associates, correct. Good. And if the fraud is less than 1 crore, then what do you need to report? You only go to the audit committee and board of directors within 2 days, tell them the nature of the fraud, approximate amount involved, and the parties involved. Also, this fraud needs to be included in the board's report. Remember section 134 where we have discussed about the board's report? At least the fraud which is less than 1 crore, you will not go to the central government, but include these 3 things in your board's report. That is nature of fraud, amount involved, parties involved. Now, he has told you these are the parties involved. Board's report, board of director is preparing. Nanda Goel, no. It's the letterhead of the auditor. So auditor is from SSR Associates. So on his letterhead, he will report the fraud. I am the auditor now. I am telling the fraud has been done. So I am signing my own letterhead, not on the company's letterhead. So parties involved. So say, for example, there were 3 parties, A, B, and C, who were involved in this fraud. And now in your board's report, you have seen that you have taken action against them. You have either thrown them out of the organization, they have been removed from the organization, or you have taken any legal action against them. So whatever actions you have taken, then don't include their names. You simply tell them that we have taken these actions. So you don't need to create a bad name for them if you have taken an action. So you will only tell that actions have been taken. Clear? These 4 points. Any doubts regarding remedial action? Everybody's clear? Okay. So after that, now what happened? The company said that, look, you are breaching your duty. You are an auditor. You were supposed to maintain the confidentiality. And now you're going to the central government and telling them that we have done a fraud. So law says no duty to which the auditor may be subject will be regarded in contravention if he is following 143 subsection 12 in good faith. So this section 143 subsection 12, if auditor is reporting on the fraud, he is not breaching any of his duties, provided he is doing it in a good faith. You cannot say that. Otherwise, confidentiality which has to be maintained by the auditor cannot share your details related to books of accounts with outsiders. He is bound to see. He's accessing all the books of accounts all the time. Remember the first point that we did. Auditor has the right to access your books and information all the time. He can ask for the things. He's asking for the subsidiaries and associates also. He's asking for other books and papers. Then that doesn't mean that he'd go and show it in the market that this is how the organization is performing or something. He has to maintain confidentiality. So one of the companies said that you were supposed to maintain a confidentiality. Why did you breach the trust? Why did you go to the central government? You should have informed. So auditor will say, I'm following section 143 subsection 12. It is written in that section. Law is asking me to report it to the central government. That's why I'm not breaching my trust on duties. Okay. Penalty for contravention. Now, this penalty is very, very important. If you have contravened, remember somebody was asking, ma'am, if he remains silent, if he don't tell. So if any auditor, cost accountant, company secretary, let me tell you, this provisions is mutatis mutandis applicable to a cost accountant also, company secretary in practice also. If auditor means a statutory auditor, cost accountant, or a cost auditor appointed under section 148, which we are going to discuss in a while, if they do not fulfill the requirements of 143 subsection 12, then listed companies, 5 lakh rupees is the fine. Unlisted companies, 1 lakh rupees is the fine. So auditor, cost accountant, or company secretary does not comply with the provisions. They remain silent. They did not tell about the fraud. They knew about the fraud. Tameshwari, I hope you can hear me now because everybody has confirmed that the voice is clear. Second penalty in full company law till now on company. Yes. Okay. So penalty of 5 lakh rupees will be charged. This is the only place where the liability has been bifurcated between listed and non-listed companies. Otherwise, it is always the same for all the companies. So this question number 12, you all can do because now I'm feeling little hurried because I have to complete section 144 also we have done earlier, but 148 we have to do. Audit of government companies, I hope no doubt in supplementary and test audit. Branch office audit outside India, this also we have discussed all these points. Now, section 144, I'm going to give you some questions for practice also today in the class for section 144. So yes, Nanda Goyal, auditor in the sense CA in practice. Yes, of course, the auditor is you all qualified chartered accountants in future. When you hold the practice certificate, then you only become the auditor. Okay, Hardik, don't worry, you will get a PPT on these question answers also. Don't worry, I will share it. Okay. Okay. So section 144 say tells you that the auditor will provide only the services which are told by board of directors or audit committee. ये एक line learn कर लेना, because when you write the answer for 144, this line I really appreciate when students write about this line, that auditor will be doing the services which are approved by the board of directors or audit committee. And there are services which are not to be rendered. What is the meaning of the word directly or indirectly? We have done this topic. I'm asking you now. Directly or indirectly? Can my relative give the services? I'm the auditor. Can my relative give these services to the company? No, ma'am. Can OPC named as an auditor company? Bhumika, what is this? Can an OPC? OPC will also have an auditor. Why you're exempting OPC from the audit? Directly or indirectly, you will not provide. You will not provide these services to company or associate or holding or subsidiary. Can an auditor provide section 144 services to an associate company? Good, good, good. 3 students, Lahari, Maruju, Tambeshwari, and Hardik have given me the answer yes. Kasak says no. Anjali says no. Pallavi says yes. 4 answers. Correct. So when they say that law, Nancy, Sagar, okay, now good, good, everybody has written. So when they say that you cannot provide these services to company, to holding and subsidiary, they have not mentioned anything about the associate company. So we conclude that yes, you can provide these services to the associate company. But when you go down, they have agreed that no other service has been prescribed. Here it is no person appointed under 139 shall be appointed for conducting the audit of cost records. Cost records we will do under 148. Directly or indirectly means either an individual himself or through his relative or any connection in which he is having a significant influence. Now, this is very important. Your associate company cannot provide these kind of services. You as an auditor are not prohibited from providing services to the associate company of the company of which you're doing the audit. But your associate company, you are the auditor, or your associate company in which you're having a significant influence means the associate company relationship, or whose name, trade name, or brand name you're using, they cannot be do these services, which is the definition of the word directly and indirect. And what all services? You all have learned these services: accounting, bookkeeping, internal audit. See, I told you, you cannot be the internal auditor. Implementation of financial information systems, something related to information system, IT. We are not IT guys. We will not do the designing and implementation. Actuarial services relate to your gratuity valuation, leave encashment, investment advisory, investment banking नहीं करेंगे, outsource financial services नहीं करेंगे, management services नहीं करेंगे, and any other services, nothing has been prescribed as of now. MN Limited is a medium-sized company engaged in the business of pharmaceuticals. For the year ended 31st March, come the appointment of GST auditor. Can you be appointed as the GST auditor? You're the statutory auditor of the company. Can you be appointed as the GST auditor or the tax auditor? Tell me. This is the example number 12 question that they have asked you. So the answer to this question is yes, you can be appointed as the tax auditor. You can be appointed as the GST auditor, but you cannot do the internal audit. Okay, so this is your definition of relative. Again, they have revised you, made you revise how you're connected directly or indirectly. If you're a self, relative, in case of an individual, other persons connected with such individual, entity in which you're having a significant influence, firm, partners, associate, entity of the firm, entity in which you have a significant influence, and against whose trade name you are using the brand names. Yes, Lahari Maruju, these are related to statutory auditor only. Ma'am, we cannot these services to assist. Nanda Goyal, that is what we have concluded. So it is written that it is silent about it. Says that you cannot provide these services to companies, subsidiary, and holding. Means you can provide these services to the associate company, but your associate company cannot provide these kind of services to the audit company. All right. Section 145 is very simple. It simply tells you who will sign the audit report. Directors, shareholders, who is going to sign the audit report? Auditor will sign the audit report. Absolutely correct. Auditor is going to sign his audit report and give the signing and verification of the documents. Point number 2, any qualification, observations, and comments which have adverse effect shall be read before the company in general meeting. And point number 3, it shall be kept open for inspection. Anyone can come and have a round and inspect the books of accounts. What is the meaning of adverse effect? I told you, you're importing a machinery from abroad. It is reasonably available in India also. You are having adverse effect on the functioning. So such kind of qualifications, auditor will read in front of the company, shall be read in front in the AGM. Before the company, and also the audit report will be kept open for inspection. Anyone can come and inspect it. It says in case of firm including LLP, can an LLP be appointed as an auditor, children? Do you need to read the entire audit report? No, only the qualifications and explanations which are having adverse effect has to be read. Manvi says no. Why? LLP can be appointed as an auditor, children. That was a test question. Under section 141, you have done LLP can be appointed as an auditor. Okay. Body corporate cannot be appointed as an auditor. Okay, good. Others, Neeru, Hardik, everybody has given the correct answer. And then 146 says auditor to attend AGM. Can auditor attend the AGM? Yes, ma'am. 146 says all the notice and other communication of general meeting shall be forwarded to the auditor. Auditor shall, unless otherwise exempted. If company says that no, you will not come in our meeting, then he will not come. Otherwise, he has the right to receive the notices. He will attend the meetings, and he has the right to be heard on business concerning him as an auditor. Auditor raises his hand. He says, I want to say something in the meeting. Can you allow him? Yes, he has the opportunity. 146 says that notice I will receive and I will attend the meeting and I can also speak out. Modern Furniture Limited convened a general meeting. The notice was not given to the auditor. Have you obligated the section 146? It says non-serving of the notice is in contravention. Hence, you're liable for penalty under 147. Ma'am, we have not done 147, but they were crossing 146. That's why they have told you that there is a penalty which is coming up under 147. If you contravene the provisions of section 139 to 146, then you have a penalty which is applicable under section 147. No, you will not contribute in the voting rights, Lahari. That's correct. 139 to 146, if you contravene, means you're not appointing the auditor as per section 139. You're not following the removal of the auditor, resignation of the auditor. You have not submitted certain forms, whatever defaults you have done till section 146. You are punishable with a fine of 25,000 rupees if you're a company and maximum 5 lakh rupees. And if you're the officer of the company, 10,000 rupees and 1 lakh is the fine to which is applicable. So this chapter has only 2 fines. One we have done for 143.12 fraud. If you're not reporting properly, then you have done the fraud of listed and unlisted company, 1 lakh and 5 lakh. Then this is the major penalty if you're not complying with the provisions of 136 to 140, 139 to 146. Then 25,000 to 5 lakh. 10,000 to 1 lakh. So this penalty I would want you to learn because it is an important penalty for the auditor chapter. And if he contravenes any of the provisions, auditor is also liable for the penalty, 25,000 and lower of 5 lakh or 4 times the remuneration. And if it is involving fraud, willful contravention, then it is very huge, 25 lakh or 8 times the remuneration, whichever is lower. So it is just double of what you have done under here. 25,000, here it is 50,000. 5 lakh and 4 times. So it is 8 times the remuneration or 25 lakhs, whichever is less, and also a jail of 1 year. So if you're an auditor who has contravened the provisions of 144, you are doing the bookkeeping service also, and you're doing the audit also. 145, knowingly you're contravening, you're not signing it properly, the audit report, then a jail of 1 year will happen and a fine which is 50,000 or lower of these amounts will be applicable. And there is an and. So the Satyam case where they have signed the audit report, it was a false audit report they have signed. Then there was a scam. So the imprisonment was also extended to 1 year. And these are the kind of 8 times the remuneration. So can you believe it? If the auditor is getting 3 lakh rupees for the services, so it is 8 into 3. So whatever, 24 lakhs it turns, whichever is low. Refund of the damages and remuneration. Auditor has been convicted, shall be liable to refund the remuneration. If he has received anything, he needs to refund it back to the company and also pay the damages to all the statutory bodies or authorities for the loss caused due to this kind of things. Is that fine, children? So now let's come into section Yes, they were punished. Absolutely correct, Anil. Coming to the last section of the day, that is cost auditors. So section 148 is the simplest section of this chapter. It looks very scary because it looks like so many pages have been given over here. But let me refer to my notes, which are summarized notes for all of you. It is a very, very simple section. It simply tells you that what are cost records. For the cost records, we are going to have a cost auditor. So all these penalties are also pasted here in the PPT for you. Central government will specify which are the items of the audit to be done for the cost audit. So first of all, do we need to prepare the cost record? It says not every company, only the companies whom CG has told they will only prepare the cost records. So CG will tell that these are the companies which will prepare the cost records, and out of those, these are the companies which need to get their cost audit done. So not all the companies are required to get the cost audit. Only the companies which are engaged in the production of certain services and goods, and they are doing the utilization of material, labor, or other items of cost, they will only prepare the cost records. So applicability of cost records is to those companies which are engaged in the goods and services given under table A, and non-regulated sectors table B, having an overall turnover of 35 crores or more. So there are certain companies which are given under table A and table B. Ma'am, do we need to learn these names of the companies? No, you don't have to learn. You simply have to learn. CG will tell that the companies which maintain the cost records, they will get the cost audit done. And cost audit is required for table A and table B company only if the overall turnover from all the products is exceeding 35 crores or more during the immediately preceding year. Fair? This is the information that you have to learn from here. After that, CG by order will direct the audit of those companies. CG will decide all those companies of whose audit has to be done. Let me just go back to the study material because there are a few points which I don't want to miss from here. All right. So applicability for the maintenance of cost records. So these are the companies, it says companies which are given under table A, regulated, and table B, and having an overall 35 crores or more of the turnover. Who is the cost auditor? Only a cost accountant can be appointed as the cost auditor. Cost accountant means who is holding the valid certificate of practice as per CMA Act, that is CW Act, Cost and Works Accountant Act, like you're holding a valid certification. So can I appoint the statutory auditor as a cost accountant? No, it says cost accountant is only going to be appointed as the cost auditor. You cannot be working as a cost accountant. You can only work as a cost accountant if you're also having the degree of cost accountant as per Cost and Works Audit. So can a professional LLP having CAs and CMA, they can be appointed as cost auditor as well as statutory? No, it says because no person as an auditor will be appointed for conducting the, because if you're appointed as a statutory auditor, anyway, you cannot be the cost auditor. Again, the qualification and disqualification rights and obligations, whatever we have discussed, will be same as applicable to section 148. 143, very important. 143 subsection 12 applies mutatis mutandis to the cost auditor during performance of his duties. So if I ask you, there is a cost auditor who has come across a fraud which is exceeding 1 crore rupees. Does that cost auditor need to report to the central government? Yes. Very good. Same procedure will be followed. Within 2 days, they have to report, and 45 days. And yes, he should report as per 143 subsection 12. So he can ask you questions related to this like cost auditor, but the same provisions that you have done over there also. Cost auditor will comply with the cost accounting standards like you have been complying with the auditing standards. They will apply with the cost auditing standards. Cost audit report has to be furnished in the same way as you have given the audit report. So the company within 30 days. So only thing written over here is 30 days from the date of receipt of the cost audit, you will direct it, forward it to the central government. If after considering the cost audit report and any explanation received is of the opinion that further information is required, you can ask for that. So what is the third point that you have to learn over here is cost audit report within how many days you have to give it to the central government. Company will give the report within how many days? according to the directions of central government. Within 30 days, they have to give it further. Any contraventions and penalties against Section 147 that you have read above will be same way applicable to the cost auditor also. And NIFARA is something which I already discussed with you while we were doing the chapter of accounts of companies. NIFARA will review your working papers. They will evaluate the efficiency of control systems. They will do the testing of the audit, all these kind of points that we have discussed. For National Financial Reporting Authority, you can refer to my lecture of accounts of companies where we have discussed in detail about NFR. The same way the provisions are applicable to the auditor also. So with this, we come to an end to the chapter, but I want to do certain important questions. So Hardik, I wanted to tell you most of the questions that I discussed with you are related to the chapter as well, but why I put them in a presentation so that the answers are hidden and you can apply your knowledge and mind. So that's why I did not share those questions with you. So see, this is the same question that we have discussed in the previous class related to the government company 18% holding. This is the same question that I've discussed with you related to the auditor of Abhiman Limited. Still, I will share the PPT, don't worry. So today we are going to do the sixth question. You all will be very honest to me. You're not going to see the answers and we are going to solve the question. Mutatis mutandis, Apurv is asking. Apurv, mutatis mutandis means in the same way it is applicable. Like I am a statutory auditor, the way 143 provisions are applicable to me, you are the cost auditor. In the same way it is applicable to you. Okay? Very good, Tambeshwari. I'm glad that you're doing all the book questions. Very good. So Mr. Prakash is a practicing chartered accountant and Mr. Akash, who is a relative of Prakash, is holding the securities of the face value of 70,000. Market value 1,10,000. Directors want to appoint Mr. Prakash as an auditor. Tell me honestly, fatapat say yes or no. Can he be appointed as the auditor? Yes, ma'am. No, ma'am. And also the reasons. Yes, they can. Are you sure? 1,10,000 का कुछ है तो नहीं करने वाला? Intelligent students, my goodness. Ma'am, we have to see the face value. Why are you confusing us? We don't have to see the very good, very good, very good. Excellent. I've read your answers. All of you have given the correct answers. And what about the students at the portal today? Wait, let me see their answers as well. Okay, read the second question. Meanwhile, Mr. Ramesh is a practicing chartered accountant indebted to MNP for rupees 6 lakhs. Can we appoint him as the auditor? Tell me. Krishna, Mr. Krishna Shah, Joya Praveen, Radhana Vasti. Radhana Vasti, can you see the PPT? Can you answer? Yes, Bala Murugan, correct answers given for the previous one. Mr. Joshi. Manoj Kumar, absolutely correct. Ankit Mishra. Krishna Shah, Radhana Vasti, all of you. Joya Praveen, good. Yes, correct answers given by the students over here also on Zoom. It is in excess of 5 lakh, then yes, he will not be appointed. Good. Mrs. KYG, spouse of Mr. Kumar, a chartered accountant, is the storekeeper of PRC Limited. Directors of PRC Limited want to appoint Mr. Kumar. कर सकते हैं? Relative is a storekeeper. Tell me the answer of the third one also. Why no? Dilip, Apur, Baisha, all those have said no. What is the reason? You have to give me the reason also. Hardik says yes. Somebody says yes. Somebody says no. Please choose your answers wisely. All right. Let me show you how you have to write the answers also, and let me clarify what is your correct answer. So first of all, section 143, subsection 3. See, I told you, you should remember at least subsection 3, you should remember. Clause D, they have told you that it is disqualified if you're having 1 lakh, but since it is having less than 1 lakh, so it is not disqualified. Again, if you're holding any securities indebted for more than 5 lakh, then yes, you are disqualified. Auditor is disqualified if a person whose relative is either a director or KMP. He's a store manager. He's a storekeeper. Is he a relative? Yes, he's a relative. Is the relative director or KMP? Tell me. मिसेस केपीजी स्पाउस जो है मिस्टर कुमार की, वो रिलेटिव है या केएमपी? ही इज अ स्टोर कीपर, नॉट अ डायरेक्टर, neither a KMP. So hence he is not disqualified. He can be appointed as the auditor. Everyone clear? I understand many of you must have related this point to the officer and employee of the company. So that is an accepted point. That also I have a question for all of you. Question number 7 also, let me show you all. MCQs I am not doing with you because MCQ you all know, you can do it easily. Board of Directors of A Limited requested statutory auditors to accept the assignment of designing and implementation of suitable financial information system to strengthen their internal control mechanism. How will you approach this proposal as a statutory auditor? Tell me. Tell me the answer of this one. I should have taken up this from my question answers. He will be disqualified under 144. Everyone agree to this point? Have you done this question with me? So this was the question that I was having for all of you. Everyone have given the correct answer for the study material question. Anil is asking, ma'am, is it your last class today? Anil, I'm meeting you on 1st January also on the New Year day. We will be starting with the companies incorporated outside India. So after this, we have completed accounts of the company. We have done today audit of the companies or audit also. Very good. All of you have given the correct answers. And now we'll be starting with companies incorporated outside India on 1st and 6th Jan. We are having 2 sessions on companies incorporated outside India. So do complete your chapter of audit today and tomorrow itself, so that if you have any doubts, you can ask me on 1st also. Okay? Okay. Anyone wants to ask anything? Because I have 2 important questions to be done with you, and then we are done with the session. But before that, if anyone has any doubts, I give you 5 minutes. If you have any doubts, please raise your hands. You can raise your hands. I will allow you to unmute yourself and ask. Okay. Yes, Hardik, speak.
Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening.
Ma'am, I have a doubt in accounts of company. Question number 3, ma'am.
Mm-hmm.
Ma'am, that question is in relation to XBLR mode. Ma'am, I'm not able to understand.
Okay, let me just open it. Let me just open it for you. Question number?
Question number 3, page number 9.83.
9.80?
83.
83. Okay. Question number?
3.
Housing Finance Limited is a housing finance
Yes,
company
sir.
having a paid up share capital of 11 crore and turnover of 145. Explain the difference. What is the provision? Okay, so they have given the question related to XBRL mode. All right. So what is your doubt?
Ma'am, I'm not able to understand this XBLR mode. Ma'am, why is it used?
Okay. So when we have done section 137, I will just show it to you. So this provision of section 137 specifically tells you about how these forms have to be used related to XBRL. Okay. So it is simple information that you have to learn, that only the companies which are having, why this cursor has stopped? Only the companies having a paid up capital of 5 crore or more, turnover of 100 crore or more, only those companies are required to prepare the documents and file it with the registrar in e-form AOC for XBRL. Okay, so this is just a certain topic that I told you. It's related to a very theoretical thing. Not much to be done in detail. I will show you where it is given in the book also. Section 137 simply talks about the e-filing which has to be done in this kind of form. It is only an e-filing kind of thing, Hardik, that he's talking about. Okay.
Only, ma'am, form has to be
So
filed.
this is, I'll show you. Yes, only the form thing he talks about, specifically about that form.
Okay.
So if you see AGM, we have done. So yes, this is your 137. So this is your e-filing of the manner and filing of the forms. So here only those specific companies where XBRL form has to be done. Other than these kind of e-forms, we have already seen AOC 1, 2, and 3 other forms in the class also. So the specific provision talks about those e-filing.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, all right, all right. Anybody else? Any doubts in the chapter of audit and auditors that we have completed today? Show the ADT 4 form. Good, Tambeshwari. I'll definitely show it to you right away. So what is ADT 4 form that Tambeshwari has asked me to show? Can anyone tell me what is ADT 4 form? Very good, fraud. Reporting of the fraud. So this is how your ADT 4 looks like. Report to the central government, Rule 13.4 has to be followed. So as per section 143, subsection 12, any suspected offense involving fraud having committed, the name of the company, SIN number, address, AGM, where the company has been appointed, directors, all these details has to be given. Name, designation of the director's DIN number, PAN number, basis on which fraud is suspected. So you are reporting on the fraud. How did you detect this fraud also has to be informed to the central government. I told you ADT 4 form is very, very important form. You have to give in detail how the fraud has actually been detected in this very case. Whether the auditor is satisfied with the reply of board or audit committee. Somebody was asking if the auditor is satisfied or not. See, you can report it in ADT 4. Yes or no? So you have to give the reporting further to central government, whether you're satisfied with the report or not. Amount involved in the suspected fraud. Yes, Lahari Maruju, I remember it was you. That's why I'm showing you the correct information. You have asked a question related to this. So I, the proprietor or partner of, you are giving it on your letterhead now. So I am the chartered accountant, declare that the above information is correct. Seal of the auditor, and you also have to give your membership number. MCQ में question आ सकता है. Do we have to give the membership number or not? Yes, fraud is for more than 1 crore. Apurv, absolutely correct. I give you a small 2 minutes break over here. Just go through the provisions and don't go because I still have to do questions with you. Just revise and see if you have any doubts. Just 2 minutes break. Shall we complete the question answers now? Hurriedly. So the last questions, two questions are there in front of you on the screen. Anyone still wants to ask any questions, they can ask. In study material, answering is confusing. मैम पहले SR करना है, CG approval लेना है, approval के बाद SR pass करना है. So, who has written this? Mahi, for that you can refer to my notes now. You can refer to that topic accordingly that. But still, if you feel that you want to discuss it with me, so remind me on the class when we have on 1st of Jan. So I will take up this topic exclusively for you. Okay, just remind me. Not appointment, ma'am. Can you please explain the cost audit subsection 2 to 7 on page 10.53 and 10.4? Okay. How to be accurate in law? Anil Army is asking. Weightage of this chapter, Lohari Marujo, around 10 to 12 marks can come from audit chapter. Again, this is a variable thing. Depending on the previous trend, if you ask me, 6 to 7 marks question do come, but 10 to 12 can maximum come from this question. Similarly for accounts of companies also. These are important chapters, children. You must do these chapters well. SR has to be passed only one, Mahi. Okay. 10.53 and 10.54. I will just take it up, Hardik, after this question. So many of you have started giving me answers also. So Mr. Naresh is to be appointed Naresh and Company, the auditors at AGM on 30th September. The wife of Mr. Naresh has invested in the face value of 1 lakh equity shares. Can you function as a statutory auditor? Please tell me, can you be appointed as the auditor or not? The question in front of you, yes, you can be appointed because it is not exceeding 1 lakh rupees. And if it exceeds 1 lakh rupees, then how much time period will be given to you? Manvi, why did you say no? Read the question carefully. Up to 1 lakh is exempt. So section 141, subsection 3, any person or his relative is holding the security will not be appointed as the auditor, but the exception is that the relative can hold, shall not be holding exceeding 1 lakh. So here, if the auditor becomes a subject, shall deem to vacate his office. What happened after this? Is he exceeding the 1 lakh invested in the equity shares face value of 1 lakh? He still wants to function as the statutory audit. So when he was appointed as the auditor, he was not holding the office. But since auditor told him that the internal, sorry, where is it? He can continue to function even after this because the investment made is within the limits of 1 lakh. And if it would have been exceeding 1 lakh, then what would have happened? It is exceeding 1 lakh, Manvi. The exception that is given is if it is exceeding 1 lakh, then you're not appointed as the auditor. If it is still 1 lakh, then you are appointed as the auditor. Then there is no problem. Okay. Yes, Lahari Maruju, this is the point that I was just going to tell you. If it exceeds, then how much time period will be given? Others also tell me. Lahari, it's absolutely correct. How much time period will be given to you for rectifying? Very good, Hardik. 60 days will be given to take a corrective action. Sagar, Nanda, Goel, very good. Good, children, good. Kasak, Pallavi, everybody. Correct. So the last question for the day in front of the screen. ABC and Company, while conducting the audit for financial year, find out that manipulative entries in the books of accounts were made. Auditors told that the internal control is not reliable. They told them that you're not having a reliable internal control because you're making manipulative entries. Board of Directors requested them to take up the assignment of designing and implementing the suitable financial information system to strengthen the internal control mechanism of the company. And also they gave them a fees of 10 lakh plus taxes for this assignment. But the statutory auditor refused to take this assignment. What are the consequences if they accept this assignment? Please read the question very carefully and give me the answer. One 147 comes into picture. Very good. Only if he accepts the assignment or otherwise also. It is a prohibited service. Absolutely correct. So how will you write? Section 144. I told you, remember this line. Whenever the auditor is appointed, he will only give the services which are approved by board or audit committee. But such services will not include certain services. Now, children, very important thing I want to tell you over here. You will be having a very limited time in question papers. Sometimes we feel so excited that now I remember 144. I will write all the services which are prohibited. You will not do this mistake. You will only stay restricted to the question that they have asked you. You will simply write that there are services which will not include designing and implementation. In the said case, board of directors have asked them to do this work. Therefore, this is a strictly prohibited provision. And if they accept, they will get attracted to 147 penalty. So we advise them not to take up this kind of assignment. Way of writing and presenting the answer is very, very important, children. Because there are many children who get so excited that 144 to mujhe aata hai, and they'll start writing all the services which are prohibited. You would not do this kind of mistake, because these kind of mistakes will, delay the question answers that you have to write for other questions. Is that clear, children? Yes, Tameshwari, this was exactly the same as question number 7 in the book, but I wanted to show you that how a twisted and turned question can come. But again, 147 was also important over here. I'm glad, Aisha, it's clear. Good. I hope you all enjoyed today's session as well. And you will learn and revise the chapter Audit and Auditors. And if you still have any doubts, you can ask me on first. Page number 10.3 to Rahi Gya, Hardik was asking something. Many of the students have left the class. So if you want, I can take it up in the next class also. 10.53. Let me just check it out. What was the doubt in that page, child? If you can just speak out. Okay, subsection 2 to 7 read with rule 7. So here it is simply trying to tell you that if central government feels that he need to direct the cost auditor, like in 143, we were telling the statutory auditor for the government company, central government C&AG was telling you. That was the difference. I did not understand what have you written. Okay. Okay. Oh my God. Thank you so much, Lahari Moruju. Ek minute, just let me complete what I was saying. So the same way as you were doing for section 143, in the similar way, you have to do it as a cost auditor also. The central government can ask you for the detailed and more information as well. Okay. Still, if you have any doubts, I can discuss in detail with you this topic, Hardik. All right. Okay. 75% wala point. Okay. First, I will take up that point. Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you, Bhumika. Thank you so much for this wonderful comment. Thank you so much, Lahari, Moruju, Pallavi, all of those who have written so beautifully. I also feel equally blessed, children, teaching all of you, and stay blessed and always keep revising whatever we have done in the class. Okay. So see you in the new year, 2025. Thank you, Tambeshwari. Thank you, Neeru. How to connect you for queries. Anil Army, I will be meeting you first, so you can ask me as many queries as you want. So this is the only way we can be connected for the queries also. All right. Thank you, Bhumika. I'm glad you enjoyed your first live class. All right, students. All right, sir. I think we are done with the session. And thank you so much. Yes, sir. Okay.